Today's video I wanted to riff on the theme of incremental progress. I'm in week 3 of the fall 2019 semester, just starting week 3 of a 15-week semester, and this is when I start to see students kind of dropping off. The first kind of run of, and I've perhaps talked about the Zeller and Mosier W curve hypothesis of adaptation, where, this kind of fairly universal phenomenon where when adapting to new situations, people start out contented and happy and excited, and then they drop off, and you have this danger, contentment goes down over time, a kind of danger point down, and then getting adapted, and then down again, and then eventually adjusted, making a kind of W. But so we're in week 3 of the semester, I started to see students dropping off, and it just gets me thinking about, well, what did I do how did I stick through it? And this old adage, this old idea that, life is not a sprint, it's a marathon, or it's a jog, it's a walk through the park, it's not a race. I like that idea because it's more about slow and steady application of effort over time than it is about, discrete bursts of energy. Although sometimes I find that moments of great inspiration come in short bursts, and those are really sometimes revolutionary moments when I have a new idea for an article or a book or a philosophical concept. That can come, or a song, say a new song, a lyric, a line, a progression, a melody, that can kind of emerge from seemingly out of nowhere. But for the most part, I would say success, like monetary success, career success, financial success, academic success, comes from incremental progress over time and staying organized over time and an applied effort. Because 4 years, it takes most students longer now than 4 years to complete a 4-year undergraduate degree, and it's taking PhD students somewhere between 7 and 9 years to finish their doctoral work. Now that's pretty extraordinary. That's a lot of effort applied over a lot of time. I did my BA in about 2.5 years, and I did my doctoral work in 3. That's a different story. But so I'm reflecting on incremental progress over time. Incremental progress over time. This is something that's extremely important both for academic success and for financial success. So this Ramsey and Hogan study that was done, it's the largest study that's ever been conducted on U.S. millionaires. 10,000 U.S. millionaires surveyed, and really interesting stuff that they found out here, really interesting data points. So the majority of millionaires that they talked to, that they surveyed, they were not handed down wealth, so that's interesting just in itself. They saved their own wealth, they developed their own wealth. The occupations, the most common occupations were things like teacher, accountant, engineer, not people necessarily making huge 6-figure incomes, right? Say between closer to the median income, median national household income, something like 55, 60K. Or is that per capita? Don't quote me on that stat, look that stat up. I can't remember. Median household income is obviously a little higher than median per capita U.S. income, but nonetheless, fairly regular occupations. And how did the average U.S. millionaire build that first $1 million of net worth? Usually in a 401k, which is to say a tax advantage account provided through an employer, through a steady monthly contribution and a match, a steady monthly contribution plus the employer's match, and a career that lasts, say, a long time. So this is something we don't always realize is, wealth is perhaps not generated just out of the blue, like these moments of great inspiration. It takes years and years and years to build this up. And I also talk about this to my students in terms of setting goals. I like the SMART goal. This is not a perfect concept, but I like the idea of SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, relevant to your interests and your passions, say, relevant and time-bound. So what does that mean? You don't say, I want to be a writer, I want to be a famous author. Well, you start there. That's your dream. That's the dream that you start with, and it's a good thing to have. Or you want to be a musician, say, or you want to be the president. Fantastic, okay. But now we have to be a little bit more realistic. Like, what do you mean by that? You know, maybe you won't be the president, but you could set the goal of, say, I want to be elected as a city council man or woman in my local municipality within the next 3 to 5 years. That's specific, it's measurable, it's time-bound, it's possible, it's achievable. Start small, start with the city council. Or if you're a writer, you're not trying to start with the best-selling novel. Say, I want to get a short story published in a regional literary magazine in the next year, and I'm going to do that by submitting a short story a month to 5 different magazines or something like that, 5 different literary journals. Or you start with an online e-zine, because those are slightly easier to get published in usually. They're maybe the rigor, I shouldn't make generalities like that, but sometimes they're less rigorous for acceptance standards. Or you say you want to be a musician. Well, you're not going to be Taylor Swift overnight, you know. You say, okay, well, I'm going to record an album of my own material at home in the next 6 months, containing 10 songs. It's specific, it's time-bound, it's measurable, and then you go figure out how to do that. You might have to buy a little USB microphone and plug it into your laptop and learn how to use a DAW, a digital audio workstation, so that you can record your songs or something like that, you know? Or you might have to study the submission guidelines for literary magazines and see what kind of stories are out there and learn a little bit about what the current trends are in literature in the US. Okay, but now you have a specific measurable goal. And what humans really like is the process, the journey. We really like the achievement, or we don't like the achievement, say. We get a little bit of a high, a little bit of a buzz from the achievement, but we really like the journey. And so it's important to set goals and incrementally work toward those goals. And it's like that with a lot of things. You can't lose 20 pounds overnight, but you can lose 20 pounds in 6 months, you know. No question about it. You have to incrementally work toward those goals and apply just enough effort so that it's sustainable and so you don't burn yourself out, and just enough effort so that it's not only sustainable but that you get to where you're pointing yourself, to where you're directing yourself toward. So this is what I mean by incremental progress toward a goal. And using the S.M.A.R.T acronym, S.M.A.R.T, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to your interests and passions, and time-bound. It has a chronological element to it. I mean, you can use this with job searching too. It's like, identify the career you want. Don't just say, I think I want to work in advertising. It's, I want to be a social media specialist. I want to earn an income of 40 to 50 grand per year. You're going to send out 5 applications a day for the next month until you land an interview and get the job. It's like it's time-bound, it's specific, it's measurable, it's totally achievable. Or maybe you have to go get a certificate or something. You have to learn a few pieces of software to improve your chances of doing that, but nonetheless, you're working toward that specific goal. And you know what? If you have a goal and you orient yourself toward it, it's very likely that you'll achieve it. If it's specific, if it's realistic, if it's achievable, if it's bound by time. You might not hit it with 100% accuracy. It might take you twice as long as you thought. But if you set a goal and you establish it using those parameters and those guidelines, it's highly likely that you'll get there. Now, if you choose not to set goals, it's highly likely that you won't achieve those, right? That's kind of a joke, but if you don't have goals, then what are you aiming toward? You won't achieve the goals that you don't set. So you want to have some kind of measurable goals. And those are, of course, going to change over time. And you can set different, say, time lengths outward. You might have a 5-year goal, a 10-year, a 20-year. Okay? And of course, the best laid plans of mice and men can go awry, but they don't usually. I mean, we have a fair degree of stability in the U.S. and a number of other countries, so you can reliably map out your future to some degree. And humans are the future-oriented animal. It's something that a lot of other species are incapable of doing. So it's like use that cognitive ability to your benefit to plan out the future that you might have. And anxiety, of course, is what occurs when life doesn't go as planned. So you have to be adaptable too. You have to be adaptable to changing circumstances. Successful people adapt to changing circumstances the same way that successful businesses adapt to changing markets. market pressures and say new technologies and various things that are going on in the world, the context of surrounding that business. So you have to be you have to adapt, and you can't tie yourself up completely in your plans and goals, because then you suffer too much when something goes wrong. But as long as you can adapt and change your goals such that you're constantly moving toward it, you can set yourself up pretty well in life. Okay, that's enough for now. I said this was going to be short. It wasn't, about 10 minutes, but yeah, leave a comment if you like. Tell me what you're working on, what your goals are. Hope this was useful for someone. Incremental progress toward your goals and setting specific and realistic goals that you can actually achieve so that you get toward what you want. And then also remembering that it's this process, it's this journey that humans actually derive meaning from, meaning and purpose and satisfaction. Very infrequently is it actually the attainment of the goal that we like. We just get a little bit of that, maybe dopamine, serotonin rush when we achieve the goal, but then the next day you wake up and it's like, well, you need another goal. You need somewhere else to point toward. You need a new place to direct yourself toward. So that's something to think about and just reflect on, is that we really the human creature seems to enjoy the journey more than the destination, and so it's important to set up significant destinations for yourself to arrive at throughout your life. Okay, take care of yourselves. Thanks for tuning in.